Hello everyone, this is Angry Giants Fan 227. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, please like and subscribe, and we will be talking about some New York Giants content throughout this offseason and into the 2022 season, and hopefully we will start to see this team turn around. Today I want to talk about a certain man named Joe Schoen, and he is our new general manager, of course, and today was his introductory press conference. And boy, oh boy, we've seen too many of these press conferences lately as Giants fans. Too many new press conferences, too much getting up hope, and we're doing it again with this Joe Schoen guy. We're getting ourselves hyped up. He's certainly a younger person than Dave Gettleman. Certainly has more of a modern day philosophy than Dave Gettleman. So let's talk a little bit about what he said in his introductory press conference, and what I think some of the important themes were. So the first thing that one of the things that Schoen really talked about was building through the draft and keeping our own. Now, every general manager in the NFL talks about building through the draft. Every single one talks about that. The best ones do, the worst ones like Dave Gettleman. Everyone says, let's build through the draft. Schoen is no different. But when you think about it, the best teams truly do build through the draft. They develop their players, they keep their players. That was the most important thing. He says keeping their own. We have to keep these guys, right? We have to draft these guys and then keep them because they're actually good players. That's the thing you want to do with these guys. You don't want to just have these first round draft picks like Eli Apple and Eric Flowers and then say, well, guess we're not keeping them because they suck. So you want to actually be able to keep your draft picks and have them be foundational pieces for your team. Now, one of the other things that Joe Schoen mentioned was the fact that we have 11 draft picks. 11 is a lot. 2 top 10 draft picks. That is a lot as well. Usually you do not have 2 top 10 draft picks. The Giants are fortunate enough to have 2 picks in the top 10, 2 very early first round picks. And you could do a lot with those things. You could draft 2 offensive linemen, you can go offensive lineman and defensive lineman. You could do a lot of things with those particular picks. But it's not just the top 2 picks. It's a cliche in the NFL that you truly build your roster and build your depth in those 4th through 7th rounds. And because we have 11 picks, we have a lot of room to, sort of build this roster with a lot of young talent. And I think that's something that the Giants haven't done particularly well. Not only have they not drafted well in the early rounds, they've missed horribly with guys like DeAndre Baker, as I said, Eric Flowers, Eli Apple. You could argue Evan Engram's a bust. You could argue Saquon Barkley hasn't obviously lived up to the hype of a number 2 pick. You can argue that Daniel Jones hasn't lived up to the hype as a number 6 pick. But it's not just these early round picks that the Giants have been messing up or not quite hitting on. It's been these middle and late round picks. They just fizzle out. They stick with the team for like 1 or 2 years and then they're gone. They're just guys you forget about. So the importance, I think, of having a guy from a successful organization like the Bills is that you hit on more of these draft picks. You hit on like a 4th round guy or a 6th round guy. And, I use the term hit in like a sense that they're just a quality piece on the roster. You're not expecting guys to be stars that you draft in the 4th and 6th round, but you're expecting them to be at least, starters, contributors. Like, you're expecting some of these picks to pan out. Like, obviously, when you get to those later rounds, it's kind of a lottery selection. It's kind of like a lottery ticket. Like, you might get something, but there's a good chance the guy just flames out in a year or 2. But I think with a guy like Joe Schoen and a smarter general manager here, we can get some of these later round picks to, actually be on the team and actually be making contributions. So that is what I think was very important about Joe Schoen's draft philosophy, the importance of those 11 draft picks, because we're about to talk about this too, the cap situation. He was honest about the cap situation. I'm like one of the reporters asked him about the cap. Is he and I was thinking, is he gonna sort of walk around this question? He didn't really. He was like, yeah, it's bad. It's a problem. And that's the thing that Joe Schoen has got to fix. He said he's got to make a lot of uncomfortable decisions, so to speak. He's got to cut a lot of people, but that's what you got to do when you have negative cap space. You got to cut people, and you can't really be making any big free agency signings in this particular year. You're not going to have any Kenny Galladay's, although that's probably a good thing, but you're not going to have any of those big time signings with this kind of cap space. It's for this 2022 season, in terms of the new players that the Giants are getting, it is all about these 11 draft picks. We're going to have like little bits and pieces free agencies. We're going to have like some corner signing like a 2-year, $10 million deal or some crap like that, but we're going to have little bits and pieces signings like that probably, but nothing big. It's going to be all about the draft this year, because he's honest about the cap situation and he's honest about the future. He has a vision towards the future. That's what I liked about this press conference. He talked about competing in the present, but I feel like his vision for the team, compared to Dave Gettleman at least, is more future oriented. Because when Gettleman got here in 2018, he still wanted to it was still like go time with the roster, where it was like, no, you gotta rebuild here. And of course, Joe Schoen even said in his press conference, I'm not gonna tear it down. I'm not a tear it down guy. But you gotta kind of start building up again with this team, because we've kind of hit rock bottom. So it's his quote that I want to focus on here is that he said it's not going to happen overnight. I think as Giants fans, our expectations for this 2022 season should simply be to be better than 2021. It should just be better than 4-13, like 7-10. Like I would be fine with that. Like the bar has been set that low. Let's be real here. I think the best case possible scenario for the Giants in 2022 is like sneaking in like with a 7 seed or something like that and getting bounced in the first round. I think that's probably the best possible scenario for the Giants in 2022. But Joe Schoen's philosophy here is that we're going to build towards the future, and that means the long-term future. That these draft picks that we acquire in 2022, that these 11 draft picks that we have, that multiple of these guys, especially you got to hit with those top 10 picks. You got to hit with those guys. We have had so many high draft picks, and we haven't been hitting with them. Andrew Thomas, you could probably argue, has been our biggest hit recently, and even he is he improved his second year, but he's still not like one of the top tier left tackles in the league or anything. So basically, we need to hit with these 11 draft picks. And speaking of a certain high draft pick, Daniel Jones. Now, I think based on what I've heard from Joe Schoen in this press conference, I think he has a vote of confidence for Jones in 2022. Beyond, if he had like a commitment to Daniel Jones beyond 2022, he'd be making firm statements like, yeah, Daniel Jones is our quarterback. Like, yeah, but he's like, oh yeah, we have some things we like about Daniel, his arm strength, he can run, oh yeah. And I think they want to see what Daniel Jones can do with a better offensive line. I think they want to see what Daniel Jones can do with a better supporting cast. And so I think because Joe Schoen values the draft, I don't think he's going to be making this big trade for Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or whatever with these number 5 and number 7 picks. I think he wants to get those picks first, see what we got in Daniel Jones. Probably not a franchise quarterback, so you draft someone new in 2023 with a better roster that you started drafting in 2022. I think that's the ultimate plan here. And another thing about Daniel Jones I noticed today was a quote from John Mara, who said, "We've done everything we possibly can to screw this kid up." Now, I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones apologist. I am certainly not the biggest Daniel Jones hater either. So I will say we probably have done everything we can to screw Daniel Jones up, whether it be the different offensive coordinators, the different coaches, the horrible offensive lines, the skill position players have been good, but they've always been hurt. So, Daniel Jones has been dealt a very, 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 very bad hand. I think if we deal him a slightly better hand in 2022, maybe we could see what happens. But like I said earlier in this video, our expectations for this season, given this roster and given the talent, should be low. Our expectations should be low. Just better than 2021. We can be more competitive. That's the ultimate goal. That's what Joe Schoen was talking about. And one last thing I noticed about Joe Schoen today was he seemed a little bit nervous. Like, he seemed a little bit nervous, I think because it was a surreal experience for him. Like, the Giants, despite these last 10 years, are still a proud NFL organization. So to, like, be one of the 32 GMs in this NFL and to not be, like, a GM of, like, I don't know, the Lions or Jaguars, teams that have no history. Like, the Giants have more of a history of winning than the Bills, although, of course, the Bills have been a more successful team as of late. But the Giants have these 4 Super Bowl rings. Bills got none. So the Giants have, he talked about in that press conference, if you're coming to an organization with 4 banners up here. So he seemed a little bit nervous. It seemed a little bit surreal to him. But I'm not going to take it, like, as long as he's not a stuttering mess, like, I'm not going to take anything super away from that because, Joe Judge seemed so confident and, like, he wasn't stuttering a bit in his press conference. And all us Giants fans were like, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's confident. He's well-spoken, so he must be a great coach. Didn't translate to that. So Schoen seemed a little bit nervous, but that's fine if he can be a good general manager. I don't care if you're a little bit nervous. I just noticed there was a little bit of nerves there, a little bit of it seeming kind of surreal to him. But I think that's to be expected, and I think that's fine. I mean, as long as you get the job done as GM, and I think that Joe Schoen is the right hire. I mean, I can't prove to you he's the right hire. The Giants may have messed this up again because God knows they've messed everything up these past 10 years, but I have some cautious optimism. I have some belief in Joe Schoen that he can get this ship turned around. So, Giants fans, tell me your thoughts about Joe Schoen. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you probably with a new video soon about this new head coach. That's the thing we didn't really talk about today, but I think we think it's going to be Brian Daboll. Let's be real here. So anyway, this has been The Angry Giants Fan. Tuning out. Bye-bye.